The air in Ronaldo's mobile unit in Sector 5 that morning was the familiar comforting blend of conditioned atmosphere and the faint, carried scent of damp earth and ripening grain from outside. Below the unit's wide, soft tracks, designed to distribute its weight evenly and minimize soil compaction, the ground vibrated almost imperceptibly with the deep rhythmic pulse of the farm, the quiet, synchronized padding of thousands of webbed Hydro Steed feet moving in deliberate, powerful coordination. It was the sound of power, of life, of the world's foundational rhythm, a constant low thrum beneath the hum of automated systems. Ronaldo, an agricultural systems technician, monitored this pulse. His screens, a wall of glowing data feeds, displayed the health and performance of the farm's biological engines. The genetically optimized Hydro Steeds that moved the automated machinery across the vast fertile plains. He wasn't just watching data streams, he was listening to the farm breathe, observing its complex, interconnected life signs. Years of experience of watching these gentle giants from afar and up close, of growing up hearing stories of their ancient history and their vital role in society, had given him an intuitive sense for their well-being. His screens showed the digital representation of their physical state: heart rates, respiration cycles, muscle tension indicators. Even spectral analysis of their soft chirps and grunts, which the system interpreted for signs of comfort, exertion, or subtle distress. It was usually a harmonious display, a complex but predictable symphony of biological and mechanical data points flowing in predictable patterns. This world in 2025 was built on the Hydro Steed, not the distant, fading echo of the thunder of hooves from another timeline, or the lowing of cattle that never became a global force, but the pervasive, quiet strength and incredible adaptability of a creature domesticated millennia ago from a South American rodent lineage. He knew the history texts spoke of how, in that parallel world, horses and cattle had reshaped continents, enabling vast migrations and powerful empires. But here, for reasons still debated by scholars, perhaps ancient, localized diseases that targeted proto-equids and bovids in Eurasia, subtle but critical climate shifts that favored competitor species, or simply a different path of human ingenuity that failed to establish stable, widespread domestication lineages before key wild populations dwindled. Those lineages never achieved global dominance from Eurasia. Instead, far away in the verdant, sprawling river basins of prehistoric South America, early peoples fostered a different relationship, looking at the large, docile capybara not just as food, but as a potential partner. Through generations of patient selective breeding, careful handling, and a deep, almost symbiotic understanding of their needs and capabilities, they transformed the wild capybara into the larger, stronger, more terrestrial, yet still powerfully water-adept proto-Hydro Steed. Its spread across continents wasn't a swift conquering force like the horse might have been. It was a gradual adoption, carried by maritime trade and cultural exchange, valued for its inherent docility, immense strength relative to size, rapid breeding cycle, and remarkable adaptability to diverse climates and terrains, especially soft earth, mud, and the intricate networks of rivers and wetlands that covered significant parts of the globe. By 2025, it was integral to everything, pulling automated farm equipment with tireless efficiency, powering quiet urban transport carriages that glided silently along dedicated biolanes, forming specialized military units capable of traversing environments inaccessible to conventional vehicles, and providing essential resources like biofuel, fertilizer, and durable materials. Technology had evolved with them, not just to replace them. Harnesses weren't just connection points. They were smart, complex systems of sensors and micro-actuators, reading the animal's physiological states, optimizing load distribution, subtly guiding them through complex field patterns, and communicating their needs to the automated machinery. Bioengineering wasn't just about enhancing productivity. Immense resources went into optimizing their health, disease resistance, and physical traits for specific tasks and climates. Cities were designed with their needs in mind. Wide biolanes, integrated watering points, and cooling pools blending seamlessly with urban parks, infrastructure for collecting and processing their valuable manure. It was a world of biomechanical harmony, perhaps quieter and less frenetic in sheer speed than some might imagine, but resilient, sustainable, and deeply connected to the land and its primary animal partner. Ronaldo's gaze swept across his screens, a practiced, efficient movement confirming optimal performance across his assigned sectors. Then, his eyes snagged on a cluster of readings from Sector 3 Gamma, a large, flat section designated for a new, genetically optimized, nutrient-rich fodder crop currently nearing peak growth. A tiny flicker, a deviation so subtle the system's lower-level predictive alerts hadn't even triggered a notification, caught his trained attention. Biometric indicators from a small, interconnected group of Hydro Steeds operating in that sector were off. Stress markers fractionally, almost imperceptibly elevated beyond normal resting or working levels. Power output marginally, but consistently dipped below expected parameters, and their vocalizations wrong. Not loud distress or pain, but a pattern of muted chirps and low grunts that felt dissonant, foreign to the usual contented sounds, like a familiar tune played in the wrong key, subtly but profoundly disturbing. A prickle of unease, cold and sharp, traced its way down Ronaldo's spine, raising the fine hairs on his arms. His palms felt suddenly slick against the smooth surface of the console. The data wasn't screaming a code-red alarm, but his gut clenched tight with a premonition of serious trouble. Something in the farm's steady, reliable rhythm was fundamentally broken. He zoomed into Sector 3 Gamma on his map. On his screen, the anomaly wasn't random noise. It was intensely localized, a small, pulsating cluster of vivid red data points overlaid on the harmonious green network representing the healthy animals, spreading slowly outwards through the interconnected Hydro Steed units operating within that area. This wasn't just a single sick animal, easily isolated and treated, or a minor equipment fault requiring a simple reboot. This was something external, something environmental, something actively affecting multiple animals in a specific place simultaneously. He initiated a targeted diagnostic scan, his fingers moving with urgent, practiced speed across the console, bypassing standard diagnostic trees and launching a comprehensive analysis. Full spectral and biometric analysis for Sector 3 Gamma, he instructed his AI assistant, his voice taut with controlled urgency. Correlate affected animal data with all environmental sensors in the sector, soil composition at multiple depths, atmospheric particulates, groundwater traces, and vegetation biochemical analysis. Include detailed feed logs for the last 72 hours and automated machine performance data for activity within that sector over the same period. The AI's response was immediate, acknowledging the high-priority request and initiating the complex analysis. But the processing felt agonizingly slow, the seconds stretching thin with tension. Lines of code and data matrices cascaded across his displays. The analytical engine's word, processing and correlating thousands upon thousands of data points from animals, machines, and the environment with lightning speed. Ronaldo watched the visual overlays resolve on the map. The heat map of biometric deviations aligned perfectly, terrifyingly, with a sharp, anomalous spectral signature detected by the ground-based environmental sensors deployed throughout the field. It was a chilling, undeniable convergence. The data didn't lie. Analysis complete, technician, the AI announced, its voice flat, professional, devoid of any hint of the gravity of its findings, amplifying the inherent seriousness by its very lack of emotion. Environmental sensors within the affected area of Sector 3 Gamma indicate trace levels of an unknown complex organic compound present in the surface soil and absorbed by vegetation. Spectral analysis suggests a synthetic or highly unusual non-natural origin for this geological region, inconsistent with known local flora, fauna, or agricultural inputs in any standard database. Feed composition logs and automated machine performance data are nominal. Biometric deviations in affected Hydro Steeds correlate spatially and temporally with the presence of the unknown compound, indicating absorption and a measurable physiological effect. An unknown compound, synthetic or highly unusual origin, present in the soil, taken up by the plants, actively harming the Hydro Steeds at a fundamental biological level. The implications hit Ronaldo like a physical blow, stealing the air from his lungs. His palms felt clammy on the console, his pulse thudded against his temples, a frantic drum against the slow, dying rhythm of the affected animal's metrics on screen. This wasn't just a farm problem anymore. A simple fix with known protocols for pests or common diseases. This was a potential biosecurity threat of the highest order, a biological or chemical agent operating outside the known parameters of their meticulously catalogued world. If this compound affected the Hydro Steeds this way here on his farm, what would it do elsewhere? He shuddered, a vivid, terrifying image flashing unbidden in his mind. Silent bio-carriages stalled on highways, automated farm equipment standing idle in countless fields across the continent. The low, steady rhythm of their world replaced by an unnatural, pervasive stillness, a global paralysis. A threat to the Hydro Steed wasn't just a threat to a farm's output. It was a threat to the global food supply, the transport network that connected cities and continents. The very economic stability of their civilization. It was a threat to the world itself. He knew with sudden, sharp certainty that cut through the routine of his day, that his quiet shift was over. A crisis had arrived on the plains, carried by an unseen, unknown agent, and his part in identifying it had just begun. The word unknown hung in the air of Ronaldo's mobile unit, heavy and foreboding, a stark contrast to the technological precision around him. Sector 3 Gamma, highlighted in stark, urgent red on his main screen, felt unnervingly still, an island of digital warning in the vast green sea of the farm, even as the automated processes of diverting the affected Hydro Steeds began. The low thrum of his unit systems felt deafening now in the absence of the normal field sounds. Every whir and click amplified by the silence of impending crisis. His hands, though still slightly trembling with adrenaline, moved with determination and precision across the console, initiating the critical biosecurity protocols he drilled countless times, procedures designed for the worst-case scenarios he had always prayed would remain theoretical. Activate Sector 3 Gamma high-level containment, he ordered the AI, his voice tight with controlled urgency. Deploy high-intensity boundary emitters along the designated perimeter. Establish a 20-meter exclusion zone around the anomaly epicenter. Initiate phased diversion of all Hydro Steeds currently within or scheduled for Sector 3 Gamma to quarantine paddock Q7. Log incident as Level 4 biosecurity alert. Unknown contaminant. Priority. Immediate and non-negotiable. Notify farm management, head veterinarian Dr. Anya Sharma, and Regional Hydro Steed Health and Security Agency Command via secure channel. Transmit initial data package, full spectral analysis signature, and correlating biometric records immediately. The system responded instantly, digital barriers flaring to life on the map, a visual representation of the activated containment field. herd icons changed color and direction, automated routing systems guiding them away from the contamination zone with smooth, efficient movements towards the designated quarantine area Q7. Ronaldo monitored the process, a thin, fragile wave of relief washing over him as he watched the animal icons safely rerouted. The animals were being moved. Their immediate exposure stopped, but the invisible threat remained in the soil, silent and deadly, its nature a terrifying mystery that gnawed at the edges of his composure. Elena Rostova, his supervisor, appeared on screen within moments of the alert transmission, her face projected into the mobile unit's cabin. Her face, usually a map of calm competence and deep agricultural knowledge drawn from generations on the land, was now etched deep with profound concern. The usual lines around her eyes tightened with worry. "Ronaldo, I just received the level 4 alert. Unknown contaminant? What exactly is this synthetic compound?" The system flagged it as non-natural and highly unusual. "Complex organic molecule found in the surface soil, actively harming the Hydro Steeds operating in Sector 3 Gamma," Ronaldo explained quickly, his gaze flicking between Elena's willied face and the data confirming the herd diversion was proceeding smoothly and all animals were accounted for entering Q7. Unique spectral signature, absolutely no match for known local environmental compounds, either natural or agricultural residue. Based on our farm's extensive databases, correlates perfectly with the biometric anomalies in the affected Hydro Steeds, elevated stress, reduced power output, metabolic markers consistent with cellular energy disruption. Data suggests rapid absorption via pulmonary or dermal contact with the soil or contaminated vegetation. It's intensely localized to that specific section, but showing signs of slow spread through the soil. Elena's face paled further, her gaze flicking to something off-screen, presumably her own console displaying the raw alert data from his transmission. A metabolic agent affecting Hydro Steeds? On this scale, spreading through the environment? Her voice dropped, the usual calm authority replaced by a chilling seriousness that sent another shiver down Ronaldo's spine. "Ronaldo, this is beyond anything in our standard protocols, our databases. They don't have a match for this signature or effect. This requires a different level of response. And the RHSHA is already notified? Command level? Yes. Standard level 4 protocol routed directly to RHSHA command with the initial data package," Ronaldo confirmed, his gaze steady, meeting hers on the screen, projecting a calmness he didn't entirely feel. "They're en route. Dr. Eris Thorne's specialized Hydro Steed Veterinary Pathogen Unit and Director Jian Li's Biosecurity and Hazard Containment Team." Good. That's fast, Elena said. A sign of the system working as intended, the rapid response protocols kicking in, yet offering little comfort against the scale of the potential threat. "Stay put, Ronaldo. Maintain monitoring of the quarantine zone perimeter and be prepared to provide the RHSHA teams with everything they need the moment they arrive. Do not enter the sector yourself, even in your unit, until they clear it and deem it safe for entry with appropriate gear." "Will do, Elena. Anything I can do about the animals in Q7? Dr. Sharma is already heading there, but the stress indicators are still elevated, even separated from the site." Ronaldo felt a pang of deep personal concern. These weren't just biological units. They were living beings he knew, individuals with distinct personalities. He remembered helping his grandfather calm a skittish young foal named Flicker during a severe thunderstorm, feeling the immense power and surprising vulnerability in its trembling body. That vulnerability felt magnified 1,000 times now, projected across the thousands of Hydro Steeds on the farm. Dr. Sharma is mobilizing a sedative protocol appropriate for metabolic stress and will assess them immediately upon arrival at Q7. Elena reassured him, her face softening slightly with shared concern for the herd. For now, keeping them calm, isolated and under observation is the absolute priority. This is serious, Ronaldo. An unknown agent affecting the Foundation species? It's the scenario we always train for, but hope never to see. She didn't finish the sentence, but they both knew the immense, terrifying weight of their world's dependence on the Hydro Steed. A widespread threat to them was a threat to everything. The history of Hydro Steed health crises flashed through his mind. The devastating green lung epidemic that had swept continents centuries ago before bioengineering provided a cure. The virulent wetland fever outbreaks that followed their introduction to new biomes after the Great Exchanges, forcing humanity to develop sophisticated bioengineering defenses and robust global health networks. Every major crisis had taught humanity the bitter cost of vulnerability inherent in their symbiotic relationship, leading to the stringent biosecurity standards and the creation of agencies like the RHSHA. But they had always been fighting known or at least predictable enemies, pathogens or environmental toxins with established characteristics and historical precedents. An unknown agent, one that didn't match anything in their vast databases, was terrifying precisely because they had no specific defenses ready, no existing countermeasures, no established trajectory to predict its spread or effect. Less than an hour later, the low-frequency hum of heavy, quiet air-cushioned vehicles grew louder, announcing the arrival of RHSHA Rapid Deployment Units. Designed for minimal environmental impact and rapid travel over varied terrain, they settled downwind of Sector 3 Gamma, a precise maneuver to minimize potential cross-contamination from their arrival. Patches hissed open, disgorging personnel in gleaming, sealed environmental suits, moving with practiced efficiency, carrying equipment that hummed and clicked with complex specialized technology, mobile analysis labs, advanced sensor arrays, containment deployment gear. Director Jian Li, a stern-faced woman whose reputation for decisive, effective action in biosecurity crises was legendary within the agency and beyond, was the first to reach Ronaldo's mobile unit perimeter. Her gaze was sharp, missing nothing, her posture radiating coiled energy and absolute authority even behind her suit's visor. With her was Dr. Eris Thorne, her focus absolute, a renowned expert in Hydro Steed pathology and biotoxicology, followed by a team of scientists, hazard response specialists, and security personnel. They acknowledged Ronaldo with brief, curt nods, their faces serious, almost grim, behind the clear visors, their attention already focused on the task ahead. Technician Ronaldo. Director Li's voice was clipped, professional, and devoid of pleasantries over the external comm system, carrying an undeniable weight of command. Your alert level and immediate actions initiating containment protocols were appropriate and timely. Dr. Thorne's unit will commence immediate environmental sampling, high-resolution analysis, and targeted biological assessment within the sector. My security detail will establish a wider perimeter, secure the quarantine zone and adjacent areas, and begin a forensic investigation for potential vector points or signs of anomalous activity in the surrounding areas. Dr. Thorne will require immediate access to your initial sensor data, drone logs, and full spectral analysis signature, transferred to our secure network. Access granted, Director, Ronaldo confirmed, his fingers flying across the console to initiate the secure data transfer from his farm system to the RHSHA network. He felt a strange, complex mix of relief that the experts were here, taking over the front line of the crisis, and a deepening apprehension about what their advanced analysis would ultimately uncover about the unknown compound. Dr. Thorne knelt at the very edge of the quarantined field, carefully examining the soil through her visor, collecting samples with sterile, instrumented tools. The concentration appears highest near the surface, as your initial sensors indicated, technician, she murmured, more to herself and her nearby team members than the others, her voice calm but carrying an edge of intense professional urgency over her suit's comms. the animals would be exposed through grazing. Lying down, inhaling stirred particles. Ronaldo, your initial biological analysis from the harness sensors, did it give any indication of how the compound is interacting at the cellular level, beyond just energy disruption? Yes, doctor, Ronaldo replied, pulling up the relevant data overlays and analysis summaries on his auxiliary screen for her team to view. It appears to be disrupting or blocking specific enzymes involved in the Krebs cycle or electron transport chain pathways. The pattern strongly suggests rapid absorption via pulmonary or dermal contact with the soil or contaminated vegetation. It's attacking the very energy production mechanism of the cells. Dr. Thorne's eyes narrowed behind her visor, her expression intensely focused, a frown evident even through the transparent shield. Interfering directly with mitochondrial function. Fascinating and deeply concerning. A targeted metabolic agent or an unforeseen environmental interaction causing a known, inert substance to become active and toxic? She stood up, carefully securing her sample container and handing it to a waiting technician. Director, we need to broaden the search parameters for this compound exponentially, simultaneously searching for its point of origin and potential spread vectors. It might not be synthesized here. The point of release or genesis could be far upstream or upwind. Check all upstream water sources feeding this irrigation network, prevailing wind patterns over the last 72 hours, industrial or research activity within a 100-kilometer radius, geological surveys for unusual deposits, even historical land use records going back centuries for forgotten sites or abandoned facilities. While Dr. Thorne's environmental team began their meticulous grid-based sampling within Sector 3 Gamma, collecting soil, air, vegetation, and groundwater samples with painstaking care under the glare of portable analysis lights, Director Lee's security personnel fanned out. Moving in coordinated patterns around the farm's extensive boundaries and accessing the farm's comprehensive security network lobs, they deployed advanced sensors, ground-penetrating radar to look for buried containers or pipes, thermal imaging to detect unusual heat signatures, atmospheric sniffers designed to detect traces of propellant chemicals or unusual volatile organic compounds, and even acoustic sensors listening for subterranean activity or hidden infrastructure. The possibility of sabotage or even eco-terrorism targeting the Hydro Steeds was a grim reality in this world. Extremist groups or rival economic powers sometimes viewed the Hydro Steeds' global dominance as a strategic vulnerability to be exploited. Farm security was high, layers of digital and physical defenses were in place, but covering thousands upon thousands of acres of open field was a monumental task, a constant challenge. Hours passed, marked by the setting sun and the glow of the RHSHA team's powerful analysis lights, illuminating sections of the quarantined field like a surgical theater. Ronaldo remained in his mobile unit, monitoring the situation, providing additional data as requested, the tension a constant, dull ache in his shoulders and neck. The initial analysis results from Dr. Thorne's mobile laboratory units, set up rapidly near the quarantine zone, began to confirm and deepen Ronaldo's findings. The confirmed presence of the unknown complex organic molecule in the soil, the plants, trace amounts in the air just above the surface, its distribution correlating precisely with the area where the Hydro Steeds had shown symptoms. Biological analysis from the Hydro Steeds, quarantined in Q7, was well underway, with Thorne's team taking blood, tissue, and breath samples to understand the compound's effect on their physiology in minute biochemical detail. The picture emerging was alarming. A potent, fast-acting metabolic disruptor specifically and severely affecting Hydro Steeds, seemingly ignoring other plant or animal life tested so far. Dr. Thorne contacted Ronaldo via comms as night fully fell, her voice weary but alight with intense scientific focus on the terrifying puzzle, the sheer novelty of the agent overriding her exhaustion. Ronaldo, the compound structure is unprecedented. Absolutely no match in our known bioagent, natural toxin, or industrial pollutant databases globally, even in classified archives. It's complex, highly specific in its interaction with Hydro Steeds cellular structures, almost designed for them. What's more, her voice dropped slightly, hushed with scientific awe and professional dread, conveying the chilling implications of her discovery. There are certain structural motifs, certain resonant frequencies in its molecular vibration patterns that bear a faint, almost theoretical resemblance to energy-inhibiting agents described only in hypothetical scenarios found in highly restricted ancient biowarfare archives. Materials theorized during the Resource Wars era decades ago as ultimate economic disruptors, but believed never to have been successfully synthesized or deployed in any conflict due to their complexity and instability. A cold dread, deeper and more paralyzing than before, settled over Ronaldo, tightening his chest. Not just unknown, not just possibly synthetic, but potentially an archaic, forbidden weapon. A ghost from a past conflict, resurrected and resurfacing here, on his farm, targeting the very species that was the foundation of their world? The thought was almost too vast, too terrifying to comprehend. Director Lee returned to his unit perimeter as the first stars appeared in the dark sky, her face exhausted but resolute behind her visor. Perimeter secure. No signs of intrusion or delivery mechanism found within the immediate vicinity of Sector 3 Gamma, she reported, her voice tired but sharp with frustration. No upstream contamination detected in waterways or air samples from standard environmental points. Geological surveys show no unusual subsurface formations or material deposits in that specific sector. Historical land use records indicate nothing unusual. It's as if the compound materialized from nowhere, concentrated precisely on that surface layer. She paused, looking out at the darkened, silent, quarantined field, illuminated only by the distant analysis lights of Thorne's team, a beacon of scientific scrutiny in the night. Dr. Thorne's findings are deeply disturbing. An unknown metabolic agent acting with precise specificity on Hydro Steeds, potentially linked to theoretical, decommissioned weapon types from a different era. This is not a natural occurrence, technician. She looked at Ronaldo, her eyes reflecting the dim console light, the weight of their shared responsibility heavy between them, a silent acknowledgement of the crisis they were now both immersed in. You did well, technician. You identified it early, initiated containment, and provided crucial initial data. Containment is in place for now, but we are facing something entirely new, something sophisticated and potentially deliberate. Something that could threaten not just this farm, but potentially every Hydro Steed population on the continent, perhaps globally, if it's not contained and neutralized quickly, and its origin understood. Ronaldo looked out at the plains, stretching into the unknown darkness, the quiet broken only by the distant lights and the unseen activity of the RHSHA teams, and his own unit's soft hum. His initial worry for the health of the herd had escalated into a chilling, global realization of the stakes involved. His connection to the animals, the routine of his work, the history he felt a part of, all seemed terrifyingly fragile now, threatened by this invisible, possibly ancient enemy whose purpose was unclear, but whose target was devastatingly precise. Protecting the Hydro Steed was the cornerstone of their world's stability, prosperity, and way of life. And right now, that cornerstone was under attack from an unseen, potentially artificial force whose origins were lost to history, but whose presence in the present was undeniable. The gentle rhythm of the plains had stopped. replaced by the tense, silent vigil against the unknown. The future of their world, built on the broad backs and webbed feet of the Hydro Steeds, hung precariously in the balance, waiting for the dawn and whatever answers or new, terrifying questions it might bring.